Today, we're going to interview Anna Krantz, an amazingly talented singer-songwriter right here in North London, and then she's going to perform for us.
Hi.
Hi. So, where are you from?
I'm from London. We moved around a lot when I was a kid, so I'm kind of from all over London, but I feel like I'm Northwest London is kind of my home.
Northwest is the best.
Yeah, because it rhymes.
And we're here today in your beautiful home in Northwest London.
Thank you. Yep.
And tell me about what it was like growing up here.
There was a strong sense of community. I remember, it was great. I remember when my parents split up, the phone calls were just endless. I've just heard about your parents. So there's a very strong kind of small town feel to it, even though we're in London.
Community.
Yeah, very much community, and I could see how it would have been easy to just stay and never leave that environment because it's very loving and very familiar and comforting.
But you have done some traveling.
I have. I've lived in New York and I've lived in Nashville, and Nashville very quickly became a second home, so I go there often.
Nashville.
Yeah, I love it. And just leaving Northwest London, especially as an artist, was so enriching. I needed that experience. I needed to sort of know who I was away from here.
So what kind of things did you learn? Like, especially in Nashville, you have stars like Taylor Swift that went as singer-songwriters and really just gave it all they had, and now huge, names. So tell us about what being in Nashville was like.
Being in Nashville is like a reality check. Like, you think you're good. So I grew up here in this town where being a musician wasn't the norm. And so I just thought it was awesome. I then moved to Nashville and it was like, okay, now you need to work. Now, I started practicing again. I started practicing scales on the piano. I hadn't done that since I was a kid. And playing to a click and making sure I was playing in time. And then I started to learn the guitar, having never played guitar, because everyone is so good. The standard is so, so high that it's either step up or get out. So I chose to step up.
So who are some of your musical inspirations?
The first time I remember falling in love with music and going, this is it for me, was at a Mary Black concert at the Royal Albert Hall. Mary Black is this Irish sort of folk singer, probably, I don't know for sure, but probably one of Ireland's most sort of popular at the time. And I was just at the Albert Hall. I was probably about 8, 9 years old with my parents, and she walked on, and it was the sound of the bass and the sound of the kick drum, and just in that room, and then she opened her mouth. I just get chills thinking about it. And I was like, that's it. That's what I will be doing forever. And so, Mary Black sort of is always where I go back to, but then I got very influenced by Joni Mitchell and Carole King, Carole King's writing particularly. Van Morrison, I can't go a week without listening to Van Morrison. I need him in my life at all times. The list is endless, like Aretha Franklin later on. And but yeah, the Laurel Canyon singer-songwriter scene was a really strong influence for me.
So how did you get started? Once you heard Mary Black and you got inspired, what was some of the first steps you took in writing and playing music?
I think I'd already started. So I wrote my first song. I was 8 years old when I wrote my first song, and I just met a piano for the first time and sat down at it. And looking back at it, I went straight to C minor. I don't know how my hand knew to do that, but it just kind of went, and then C minor, G minor, and F minor. And before I knew it, I was writing a song. And I just assumed that that's what people did. I thought that was normal, that you meet an instrument and you just pick out a song. And I've just been writing ever since. It kind of chose me. It wasn't a conscious choice.
Well, tell me about that first song that you wrote. I know it's called Mirror.
Yeah.
Which is a really profound song for an 8-year-old.
Yeah. Looking back at it, it was a very sort of deep lyric. The lyric was, I look in the mirror, what do I see? Something beyond me. And at the time I wasn't really conscious of why I was doing anything. But I'd been sexually abused when I was 6 years old and been sort of sworn to secrecy. So it was something I couldn't share with my parents and with my family. And so I had all these, very deep and intense emotions kind of locked up inside of me, and I had no way of expressing it. And then I meet this piano, and it was just like magic. It was like, here's my new best friend, and here's my outlet. And I still feel that way. You know, when I want to celebrate something, or I want to mourn someone, me and the piano, and now the guitar, that's my therapy.
So Anna, tell me about a pivotal point in your life where things really changed for you.
Abe, I see it as a series of chapters. Like, my whole life has been a series of different phases, and each phase began with a pivotal point. You know, moving to Nashville was definitely one of them, but before that, I belonged to a theatre company called the Chicken Shed Theatre Company. And I first met them when I was, I think, 11. They came to my school to do like an outreach program, and I had never experienced that kind of, that energy of collaboration before. I'd never seen anything like it. And they were so exciting and enthusiastic, and I fell in love with theatre, joined their group, and they taught me so many skills about like musical directing and how to incorporate people, and yeah, very much about togetherness. That was pivotal. I think my parents separating was pivotal, as it would be, I think, for anyone. That was when I was like 18.
How did that affect you when your parents divorced?
Weirdly, it was really empowering because, you know, I was 18 years old. I'd had, you know, a childhood trauma, for want of a better expression, but I'd also had an amazing life, very privileged. My parents were incredible people. I was very loved. Everything I needed, I was able to have. And their divorce, I think, for me was the first time I had a sense of, okay, so I'll just do this myself. Like, I'm going to make up the rules because this foundation has now been cracked. So now I get to kind of be my own expression of myself.
Build a new foundation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I suppose so.
And you mentioned a childhood trauma. Do you mind if we talk a little bit more about
Yeah.
that? Because that obviously was another pivotal point in influencing your musical career, I'm sure.
Yeah. I was 6 years old, and we lived in a block of flats, and there was a security guard, and we were there in the summer, so we were only there for like just one summer, and I would play in the car park, and the security guard was kind of overseeing me and my brother, kind of looking after us, and he would just take me into his little room, and all kinds of sexual abuse took place. And yeah, I shut down, I think, after that. From around about 8 years old, I just wiped it out of my memory. I gained a lot of weight. My behavior, looking back, was clearly something was wrong. I remember I used to flush a lot. My cheeks would get really, really red. So as though I was sort of containing something. Which again is why music was just such an amazing outlet. It was just, I could get it out. I had something in my system I had to get out.
You mentioned some of the signs. What would you say now for other parents maybe that aren't alerted to something like this happening to their child? Because I think it's probably every parent's worst fear, right? For
Yeah.
something to happen to your child that you can't protect them from. What would be some of the signs that parents can look for so that they can intervene as well in their child's life?
I think the flushing cheeks, a heightened sense of embarrassment, a heightened sense of self-awareness, I think extreme sensitivity. That's not always a result of abuse, but I think it can be. Like even at times, like bedwetting, I don't think that was my thing, but I think that can be a sign of it. And kind of, for me, I just used to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. I would talk and talk and talk and talk because I'd been sworn to secrecy. So my abuser had said to me, if you tell anyone, I'm going to kill your family.
Wow.
So the burden I had, or what felt like a responsibility, was don't say the one thing that's going to kill everybody. So instead, I would just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and overcompensate with proving I was fine. So, constantly, even my mum says to me now, she's like, you just seem so happy all the time. And that for me was a full-time job. My full-time job was be okay, be happy, talk and just don't say that one thing. So for me, I gained a lot of weight as a kid, and I was thinking about it in the car this morning. Part of that was if I put food in my mouth, then I'm not going to speak. Then I'm not going to say. It shuts me up. That was something I just figured out this morning. But you know, every kid is different, and every experience is different. And unfortunately, for some kids, it may be a parent or a relative. That wasn't in my case. But yeah, I would say the embarrassment thing is definitely a sign.
Wow. Okay, so how does an event like that inspire your work and sort of become your artwork?
I think, so I blocked that event out of my memory until I was 22 years old. And when I was 22, I made my first album. And the memories started flooding up just as I was recording my first record. I think part of that is because I was aware I was going to be alone in a room with a man who was going to be in charge. He was going to sit at a desk, and in my experience with a security guard, we were often in his office at a desk. So there were many, many different triggers. I think to answer the question, how did it inform my art? That's how it came out of me. I think it informed my art by making me extremely empathic, a very deep thinker, and I had a need to express, and I think that's how it informed my art. I think now that I've done a lot of work on it and I've really looked at it, I've done all sorts of therapy and group therapy and sexuality therapy and anger management courses and Reiki and Schmeiki and everything, like everything. And it's a continued process, and it always will be. There's always going to be another layer of that behavior as a result of these emotions. And so with my music, I've just discovered something new about myself. I'm going to want to express that now. I've just had an experience I didn't think I could ever have. That's incredible, and now I'm going to write about it. So every layer I get to write about. I think it just enriched my life, actually. It's something that sounds crazy and perhaps even controversial, but it's an event in my life that I'm so grateful for, because it made me the artist I am. It really did.
It's all about perspective and foundations you mentioned as well.
Yeah.
Now I know you're going to be playing your song Foundation later. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired that song?
Yeah, so I wrote Foundation on 10th Street in New York. I like saying that. It just sounds cool. And it really was just a snippet. I sat down and sort of started writing this song. I put it in my phone, the memory thing in the phone. I never had any intention of any human ever hearing this song. I'm across the pond, I'm away from my family, I can finally talk about this little subject that I wouldn't in the past want to sing about, out of fear of maybe hurting my family or embarrassing anyone, or just a whole host of fears I created in my head. And there was a freedom about being in America. So I just started writing this song Foundation, didn't think about it. And at the time, I was working with a manager who came over one day, and she was just looking through my voice memos. I gave her permission. She didn't just pick up my phone.
Yeah.
And she heard a snippet of Foundation and went, excuse me, what the hell is this? And I said, oh, no, that's not a song. That's just I don't know, that's just like vomiting. That's just noise. That's not a song. And she said, no, you have to finish this. This is a song. To this day, Foundation is probably my most personal song and the song I'm proudest of.
So Anna, if you could go back in time and talk to that 6-year-old little girl, what would you say to her now?
She's just such a scared, she just feels cold to me. So I think the first thing I'd do is I'd wrap her up and warm her up and hold her. I think I would say, this is not yours to deal with. I've got this. I think that is what I do continually say, that I've got this. Just don't take this. Yeah.
So one of my favorite songs of yours is Connected, because I really believe, we are all connected, just like you sing about. And that's such a powerful song. What inspired you to write that song?
I was on a songwriting retreat. It was the Chris Difford songwriting retreat, and he this brilliant man. He gathers writers from all over the world and he puts them in Glastonbury, was where we were, and gets us all to write together. And actually there were two songwriters I'd always wanted to write with in Nashville, and it turns out I ended up writing with them at this thing. So I wrote that song with Travis Meadows and a guy called Gary Clark. And most mornings, I say most because I like it to be every morning, but it doesn't always happen. I meditate and then I visualize my day. I sort of set an intention for my day. What's it going to look like? What do I want to get out of it? Who am I bringing to the table? And I remember specifically that morning, it was almost like a prayer. It's like asking for a song that in some way connects us all. You know, in some way reminds us that we're all made up of the same thing. And Connected just kind of happened that day really quickly.
You mentioned some really interesting collaborations there
Yeah.
behind that song, Connected. Now, what other really powerful collaborations have you experienced in your career so far?
I mean, many. There really are many. And I don't want to sort of discount anyone. I might not remember them all. An obvious one that stands out is Ed Sheeran. I met him when he was maybe 18. He came here, actually. He stayed on this sofa.
Ed Sheeran slept on this
Ed
sofa.
Sheeran slept on this sofa. I'm going to put it on eBay tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
So he comes in with his little Martin guitar. I mean, his whole act is very authentically who he is. And at the time, he was kind of sofa surfing. He was sent to me by his, at the time, management. I was writing for other people around that time, which I still do, but that was my main focus. His manager said, you know, Ed needs some songs. We're going to put you two together, write him a song. He didn't need me at all. The guy's a genius. He comes in with like a whole, just ideas bubbling over, just coming out of him. And he walks in and he just says, do you want to hear a song I've just written? I was like, yeah, sure. And he played the A-Team just in my living room. And I was just moved to tears. I mean, I remember phoning my mum and saying that there's an angel in my living room. I was just so taken by him. Anyway, so we wrote a couple of songs and he said, look, do you mind if I sleep on your sofa? I've got nowhere else to sleep tonight. Of course you can sleep on my sofa. And that's something we did a few times. He'd come here, we'd write songs, he'd stay over. We met up a few years later in New York and he invited me to open for him, which was just awesome. And yeah, he played some of our songs on tour and just great. Really inspiring guy. To watch him take off like that was amazing.
Yeah, so he's been very popular even longer here in England then.
Yeah, Ed was probably big here for a couple of years before he even hit the States. But I think his career relatively took off pretty big, pretty quick.
Tell me more about where your career is now, where you're at right now in your career and where you're working towards.
I'm in a very exciting space because this is the first time in my career where I feel where I am embracing all aspects of what I do. So essentially I'm a songwriter. That was the first thing I did. I'm always going to be a songwriter. And I'm writing with some artists at the moment that I really believe in and care about, and just writing a lot constantly for myself and for other people. In Nashville, I discovered that I'm really a producer as well. So now I wear that hat, which is very fulfilling. It's one of my most exciting environments. Like for me, if it's studio day, it's Christmas. Like the night before I can't sleep, studio tomorrow. And I'm performing a lot, and I'm just working now on an EP here, actually, making it at home. And the rule is that everything is done at home. So there's no massive budget or the kitchen sink being thrown into it, which I've done and love and will do again. I just wanted to get right back to my roots, which was when I was about 15. I had like a 4-track and I had Logic before Logic was audio, and I would just go into the basement and pick apart songs that I love and recreate them. Like, what's the bass doing? What are the drums doing? What's the piano doing? And just really listen, how is music put together? How's that fit together? And I'm kind of back to doing that now, which just feels so exciting.
So Anna, what is your take on self-transformation?
My take on self-transformation. I feel as though I transform a lot regularly, and it's vital for my existence. Everything becomes stagnant if I'm not evolving. And what I think for me is really happening is I'm remembering. And remembering to me, literally like the word sounds, I'm remembering, so I'm pulling in all aspects of myself that perhaps have been fragmented or forgotten or aren't there. That every time I transform into a new version of myself, I always have a sense of, oh yeah, that's what that feels like. This is who I am. So really, transformation for me is coming back, realigning with my most authentic self.
It's almost like removing things instead of adding things.
Yeah, is it like removing? Yeah, maybe like peeling back an onion. I think it's both. It's, well, I don't need this. This doesn't serve me. This doesn't serve me, but this does serve me, and pulling in sort of dismembered aspects of my whole.
And on this journey, like, what tools have you used to do that? How have you done that?
I think I've always done it naturally. I've always had a sense of relationship with something that I would call God. I don't think of God as a bloke sitting on a cloud. And sometimes I don't even call it God. My language changes around that word for sure. But there, for me, is a sense of a higher source that I tap into, that I feel very connected to.
So how can people find out more about where they can see you, where they can purchase more of your albums and your music?
I think the best place for now is to go onto my Facebook page, which is Krantz Music.
Okay.
Those that like Instagram, I love my Instagram. I'm hooked. I try not to look at it too much. So yeah, Facebook and Instagram for now, and then I'll be able to inform people of where I'm playing, when the EP's coming out, and just everything I'm up to.
You know how when you hear someone sing a song, you get chill bumps all over your body, even on the back of your head? That's what happened the first time I heard Anna play. There's only a handful of artists that I can say I've seen or heard perform that have given me that feeling, where you just feel the passion and the soul in all of it. And I'm looking forward to see what's next for Anna Krantz.
Before I knew how to stand up, I learned how to fall. Before I'd barely opened my eyes, I'd seen it all. Another case of too much too young and too much too small. So I lay my foundation down and build me a wall. Before I knew much about love, I was consumed with fear. So I covered my feelings up and drank my first beer. And people on my left didn't fit me, and right didn't feel right at all. So I lay my foundation down and build me a wall. Life is for living, and living is freedom from pain. Sometimes you do anything just to find some relief. You stand out in the pouring rain to wash away the grief. You take on the weight of the world, but no one can carry it all. So lend me your helping hand and break down these walls. go back again to the darkness I was in. I never wanna go back, never wanna go back, never wanna go back again to the darkness I was in. I never wanna go back, never wanna go back, never wanna go back. No, no. I'm happy to be alive, just to be here at all, and for everything I survive. I wanna live to the full, 'cause what's the point in wasting today when tomorrow may not come at all? Yeah, I turned my life around and found my salvation now. I'm gonna lay my foundation down and build me a wall.